Today we're going to start the Mishna Berura in Siman Tafresh Ayin Hey. We already had two sessions on Habakos and Mitzvah, where we learned that lighting the menorah is the mitzvah as opposed to the placement of the menorah, picking it up, putting it down, etc. The first session we learned through the Gemara in Shabbos on Chav Beis and Beis to Chav Gimel. In the second session we learned the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch and its commentaries. Today we're going to begin with the Mishna Berura himself. The Shulchan Aruch Paskins Habakoi is a mitzvah. The lighting is in fact the mitzvah v'loy hanacha, and not the placing of it. So it's the idea in the lighting. Shim haisa munachas b'makoyma, because if it was placed in its location, shaloi l'shem mitzvahs Chanukah, it was placed in a kosher location, however, not for the sake of the mitzvah of Chanukah. So the Shulchan Aruch says, madlika sham ve'ino sorach lahasiro ulhanicho l'shem mitzvahs Chanukah. So you could light it over there, and you don't need to remove it and then place it as having in mind that it's going to count as a mitzvah. Therefore, if you had a lantern, you had something in glass, and it was lit the entire day. There was a flame in there. It was lit the entire day. You lit it on the eve of Shabbos, before Shabbos began, for the sake of Chanukah. And now you want it to count 25 hours later, 26 hours later, and it still remained a flame. After Shabbos, Motzi Shabbos, you have to extinguish it and rekindle it for the sake of the mitzvah of Chanukah. Nevertheless, you need to light it in a place in the area where you placed it. You need to light it where you placed it. You need to light it in the location where you placed it. If you lit it inside and then removed it outside, you would not fulfill your obligation. Someone who's going to see you is going to say you lit it for your own needs. Comes along the Mishna Berura and Aleph Halakha. Since we say in the bracha itself, to light. Therefore, the Gemara deduces from here that Habakah is a mitzvah, as we learned tomorrow in Shabbos Chav Gimel. That lighting it is a mitzvah itself. According to this, also in Shabbos Yantiv, the same halacha would apply, that we would hold Habakah is a mitzvah. The relevance of this could not be overemphasized. That we're not just learning Hilchos Chanukah right now, we're also learning the halachas of Shabbos and Yantiv, and this is why I wanted to learn this siman, because in the middle of siman Reish Lamed Gimel, and this is coming up in the middle of Sif Yud. That's why I waited to start in the middle of Sif Yud strategically. All part of the master plan in the course that we have over here in the curriculum. So therefore, Shabbos and Yantiv, we'll take Moshe Kosav Elsim and Reish Lamed Gimel Sif Yud Barama. That's exactly where we left off, as it says over there. So therefore, everything that we're learning also applies to the Shabbos and Yantif as well. And the truth of the matter is that we see this from the bracha. Lahadlik ner shel Shabbos, lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov. We say lahadlik at both places, not lahaniach or something like that. Lahaniach tefillin.
Now, when we say that you're going to move it, he's always talking about from inside to out.
We're going to be talking about moving. We're going to get to that more this session. The Uzvahadar Mishna Berura over here adds in on the Shulchan Aruch, you don't need to extinguish it. Pick it up, put it down. It's enough if you just extinguish it and then relight it, because we all have Habakah mitzvah as opposed to a Nachal mitzvah. Even though you already lit it before Shabbos, nevertheless, you need to light it again, because every single day is an independent mitzvah. Kol yom hi mitzvah ve'atzma. That's why you can't just light it and then it will just keep going. No, each day is an independent mitzvah. Shabbos and Yontif, the text is lahadlik ner shel Shabbos, lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov. The same halacha would apply. Halakha is a mitzvah. You have to light it. That's the mitzvah. And therefore, once you light it, you can't move it after. You can't light it in one location and then move it to another location. Halakha is a mitzvah. It has to be there the entire time. You can't add more oil to it after, etc. Mishna Berura if we would hold that placing, it is the mitzvah. Then you would need to extinguish it to pick it up and then place it down for the sake of the mitzvah, and then you would need to relight it. That's if we would have held that hanacha is a mitzvah. The placing is the mitzvah. You need to actually pick it up and put it down. You light it again. But since we hold halakha is a mitzvah, that the lighting is the mitzvah, all you have to do is just light it as is. Doesn't help that you lit it the previous day for the sake of mitzvah. Like we saw before, every single day, every single day, milsa is a matter ba'an pe nafshi, independently. That's what it is. Don't say, however, it doesn't matter how you place it down at all. And however you light, you fulfill your obligation. That's what's teaching us otherwise, that no, that it matters how you place it down. It matters where it's placed, the location where it is. So look at Mishna Berura, in the time of the Gemara, you needed to place the menorah on the entrance of your house outside. There's a simple explanation. You need to light it in a place where you place it down, meaning outside. Because this is the place that you're obligated to publicize the miracle. So it used to be that they would light it in a place that was outside by the doorway, because that's a place where you can publicize the miracle properly and everyone will see it. But if you look at even though that nowadays we're lenient and we light inside in the house, nevertheless you would not fulfill your obligation. To show because the candle, the menorah needs to be placed, and it needs to be lit in a place where they're gonna continue to be lit. It's gonna be there the whole time. Because someone who's gonna see is gonna say he just lit it for his own needs. He's a pashut according to this. It's obvious. Same halacha would be if you lit it outside and you placed it inside, you would not fulfill your obligation according to this.
From inside outside, then
Yeah, so before we said
outside to inside.
Before we said inside to outside,
Inside.
you wouldn't be good. Now we're saying opposite. If it was outside to inside, it wouldn't be good.
Now he's saying this man of Gemara they used to light outside. That includes b'chutz la'aretz?
Correct. And we're going to learn about that more, Mitzvah Hashem. Truth of the matter is already on the recording to Raman.com, Siman Tafresh Ayin Aleph from 11 years ago. But we're going to cover that again. That's the one Siman. We skipped Tafresh Ayin. Aleph, Beis, Gimel, and Daled, and Zayin. That's all we have left, 5 Simanim. Happens to be that those are that's the long Siman. Tafresh Ayin Aleph.
Where at the time of the Gemara, where were Jews living besides Eretz Yisrael, and was it
Bava?
yeah, Babel?
All over.
But everything was warm, right? There was nowhere where they were Jews lived where there was cold.
Weather is one issue, but there's numerous considerations which we're going to have to learn when we learn that topic. We'll get there, don't worry. Not this year, but we'll get there next year. By next year, we're going to finish all of Hilchos Chanukah. That's the goal.
All
right. The point over here on this Mishna Berura to mention is, and what we have to discuss is if you're moving from one location inside to inside.
Right.
Because over here, he's only going outside to inside or inside to outside. So we'll come across that. Oh, here it is. Even if the lighting and the placing of the menorah was in one place. Mishna Berura continues. What does that mean it was in one place? Let's say you moved it from one location inside to another location inside, or one location outside to another location outside. You should be careful not to move the menorah from one place to another until you finish the amount of time that it's supposed to remain lit, which is a half an hour after Seitzal Chavim, after when 3 stars come out. Some are lenient with this. Prima Godim says certainly you should be careful about this. Preferably. Even if you're lighting a menorah in shul. You should also be careful not to move them preferably, at least until at least you wait a half hour. Remember where this comes from? This is the Mahari Avuhav. This is what we saw in the Beis Yosef. This is what we saw the other version in the Ishal of Ram. With the chandelier thing, with the rope, with the pulley, remember?
That was the pulley, right?
Yeah. You should be careful not to move him. So you see, even inside, you should be careful, but note that some are lenient. But lechatchila, you should certainly be careful. But bidi eved, at the end of the day, after the fact, someone removed the menorah from inside to outside or outside to inside, you won't fulfill your obligation. No good. However, if you moved it from one location to another inside the house, then that's fine after the fact. Now, the thing that we really have to handle and discuss is, let's say you lit the menorah, and then after, because of some real reason, you realize it could be a fire hazard. So now you want to move it just a little and to fix something a little bit. Is that subject to what we're discussing now? So let's assume not. We'll come back to that. Shulchan Aruch continues. Let's just finish Mishna Berura's verse. If you lit the menorah and you held it in your hand, you wouldn't fulfill your obligation. Someone who's going to see you say he's living for his own needs. So the Berura comments, that's a taz. Dafka sheichel calls na mitzvah so we mostly yadu ksas man. Dachech manich shish doleches yatsa. V'kaman kron mefak v'kim bazeh v'daisen de'in lahadlik ad sheyu munachim techila b'makaymen. According to this taz, is specifically referring to where you hold it during the entire time of the mitzvah. However, if you just hold it in your hand just a little bit of time and then afterwards you put it down when it's already lit, you would still fulfill your obligation. But many achronim, but means that this is how we pass, and I'm ruling. Many achronim doubt this, and they hold that you cannot light it until it is placed in its actual location, not like this taz. So you should not be holding it at all. Siv Beis is really a continuation. Siv Gimel we're not going to do now. It's longer, first of all. Second of all, it's a whole other topic really, which requires more time to properly learn about. Especially once we discuss the obligation of women with menorah. And if they have a husband, that whole topic takes time to discuss. Siv Beis in the Shulchan Aruch says, Yesh Misha Omer de Kevan de Hadlaka is a mitzvah. Since we hold that lighting it is a mitzvah, what does this Yesh Misha Omer mean? No, that's what we saw in the Mefarshim, that sometimes the Shulchan Aruch uses this language if just one opinion says it, even though there's another opinion that argues. Remember that? I think, was that the Aruch HaShulchan where we saw that? Or was that the Pri Megadim where we saw that? Just said it yesterday. Must have been the Aruch HaShulchan. The Aruch HaShulchan says, V'zeh, Sha'beis Yosef b'Sif Beis, that which the Shulchan Aruch writes in Sif Beis, Kasav Dinzeh b'Shem Yesh Mi Shomer, he writes, there are those who say, that's the way of the Shulchan Aruch. If you only find this halacha brought by one rabbi, related by one rabbi, okay, so we'll come to the rest of it in a minute. The Aruch HaShulchan. Yesh Mi Shomer, says the Aruch HaShulchan, explaining the Shulchan Aruch, who's quoting the Rosh. One rabbi who says this halacha, not that anyone argues on it though. Yesh Mi Shomer, the kevan the halacha is a mitzvah, since we hold that lighting the menorah is the mitzvah, consequently, Tzarich sheyitin shemen baner kedei shir. Kaidem hadlaka. You have to put enough oil in the menorah. You have to load up enough oil before you light it, that it will last for the proper amount of time. But if you recited the bracha and you lit the menorah, and then subsequently afterwards you added more oil in order that now you're going to have the proper amount, you would not fulfill your obligation. You see from over here, you would not fulfill your obligation. This is even b'di'evet. So let's line up where we're holding. We're holding over here that we're in playing games. If you are holding the menorah the entire time, if you bring the menorah inside to outside, you wouldn't fulfill your obligation at all. If you add more oil afterwards, you wouldn't fulfill your obligation at all. These halachas that we're learning are very serious because you wouldn't even fulfill your obligation at all. So therefore, these halachas are incredibly important to know well and how we hold. Since you wouldn't fulfill your obligation, says the Mishna Berura, you need to extinguish it, put more oil, the proper amount, and then return and relight it, but without a bracha. It's a whole discussion why you would light it without a bracha. Apparently, the Pri Chadash says maybe you would say a bracha. If you're not fulfilling your obligation, then seemingly you should say a new bracha. The Aruch HaShulchan adds on this. It's obvious that if you added oil after you recited the bracha, but before you lit it, the menorah, you fulfill the obligation. In other words, preferably there's supposed to be enough oil even before you start lighting. However, if there wasn't, so then if you caught yourself that there wasn't enough oil after you said the bracha, but before you lit, it's so important, you wouldn't fulfill your obligation at all, that you should even put more oil then and there. Because it's certainly a hefsek. That interruption should not be done. The oil should have been there before. However, it's sarchi menorah, sarchi Chanukah. You need it because you wouldn't fulfill your obligation. So therefore, in that case, what you should do is you should light it even before you light. Now, if you didn't do that and you already lit it, then you need to extinguish it, put more oil, and then relight it. Without a bracha. That's what the Mishna Berura is holding. Also, had their Mishna Berura comments on a few of the. I mean, they comment a lot. I already went through all this. Everything that they comment, we already know the information. Just these are interesting. Every single day is an independent mitzvah. There's a mitzvah chadash, a new mitzvah that the rabbis enacted. You light every single night of the 8 days of Chanukah. Adlakos mitzvah requires it has to be lit in the proper way, and it needs to be lit in the proper location. Because if you're going to move it around, someone's going to come along and say, "Oh, you're using it for your own need." Mishna Berura and the Oz V'Hadar Mishna Berura in this footnote over here puts the Pri Chadash, who points out that the language of the Shulchan Aruch is interesting. He says, Yesh Mishomer, like we saw in the Rush. The Rush says this halacha. The Torah quotes it from his father, the Rush. No one else argues on it. Why didn't he just say we hold this way? Why did he say Yesh Mishomer? So we already saw the Aruch HaShulchan gave one approach. The Kaf HaChaim comes along and says, this is the way of the Shulchan Aruch. Same thing as the Aruch HaShulchan. If he only finds it in one location, he says Yesh Mishomer, and then they quote the Aruch HaShulchan also says that. Pri Megadim says that even according to the Shulchan Aruch, that he says Yesh Mishomer, nevertheless the halacha is this way. Even though it's a Yesh Mishomer, someone says the halacha is this way. Also, the Lavush, when he quotes the halacha, he doesn't say there's someone that says it Yesh Mishomer. He just says this is the halacha. Period. You could open the Lavush, but or you could just look it up. Whatever. It's nothing to see. That's incredibly monumental. Crazy insight. Piskei Teshuvos opens up this siman by saying we hold a Bako is a mitzvah. Therefore, if you lit the menorah and then brought it outside, or you lit it outside, you brought it inside, you wouldn't fulfill your obligation. And therefore, you would need to extinguish it, return, and then light it again without reciting a bracha. Again. So that's what you would need to do.
So if a person goes ahead and lights the menorah and then says, oh, you know what? Wrong window. I meant to do it the other window.
Yeah.
So he's got to relight.
We're gonna learn more about inside to inside.
Okay.
See what he says. I mean, the truth of the matter is, before we even continue with what he's gonna say over here, pretty clear from the Mishna Berura that moving it from one location to another inside is only preferably. You shouldn't do that. But the truth of the matter is, you have to figure out, was that Mishna Berura talking about after it was lit for a half an hour or before? Legally, you shouldn't do it, even in the shul. Okay, so let's see more about this now. Certainly, you can move it if there's a concern about a fire hazard. After half hour. After half hour.
After
Yes.
half hour.
After half hour. Within the half hour, you really should not be moving it. And you should be around the menorah anyways. Right? So after half hour is the discussion. After half hour, you could certainly if it's a fire hazard.
After half hour, right? I mean, the Hatzal says you should extinguish it. Like if you're going out of the house.
Talking about you staying home.
Okay.
It's very funny because the rest of the year, you light it home Shabbos night, you go out to eat, you come back, it's still lit.
Still in there.
But menorah, everyone gets more.
Well, I guess Shabbos you can't extinguish it.
Well, menorah, you can't extinguish it either.
After 30 minutes, then
But
there's
after
more leeway.
Right, but you can't extinguish it on Shabbos. I'm saying either way, people they light at their house, they go out, and they come back on a regular Shabbos night, no problem. But now comes along Hanukkah and everyone gets super duper nervous. Look, I had a Rebbe, his whole house burned down from the menorah. Yeah, true story. So you got to be careful. It's just an interesting point that people are more careful. But I mean, you have to because it's different. You're doing things differently. That's why Shabbos every single week. You already know you have your system. I don't know. Less neighbors for the most part. But anyways, so after a half hour, you can move within a half hour. It's not so simple to move the menorah, even from one place to another inside. Then look what he says over here. There's a difference between moving and adjusting. If you want to move it just a little bit closer to the door or something, let's say you're lining by the door. Right? You're not physically picking the thing up, you're just sliding it over, you're adjusting it. That's okay. You're improving the way that it's standing or whatever, or the way that it's sitting. There's no concern. You're not bringing it to a new place, and therefore it's not considered that you placed it in a new location. It's recognizable that you're just doing it for the menorah. If you bring it inside or outside, even though both places you could light, that for sure would not be good, according to everyone, as we learned. I was going to say he's using it for his own need. So in other words, what we got from this is this leniency of adjusting. First of all, the fire issue, and now the adjusting issue. He wants to say this based on a Sharat Sion and Tafre Shayin Dalad. We'll have to learn more about that. However, it's the adjusting will be permissible. If you're moving it two places inside, one place to another, preferably you certainly shouldn't do that. It seems like b'diavad, even within a half hour, post facto, if you did that, you would have what to rely on. Then he discusses, let's say you have a person who's in bed, in the hospital, whatever it is. He can't get up from his bed. So now you could be lenient and bring the menorah to him. He'll light it with a bracha and then place it like by the door or window, whatever it is. Pressing situation, such a thing could be done. But for those who have the custom to light outside, in Israel they only light outside, you can't do that. Now you don't have this option over here because you can't remove the menorah from inside to outside. There's no way to do that. Rather, he would need to appoint a messenger to light on his behalf, which we're going to have to learn more about in Siman Tafrei Shayin Zayin. So he performs a messenger to light on his behalf. I thought that was a very interesting case over there. Because if you're lighting inside, you could maybe come on and say the entire house is considered one domain. Even if you put it in the middle of the room.
Who's that sheet about, the whole house is Balaram?
Yeah, it comes up in Brachos on Chaf Hamid Beis. There's a shita about that. Comes up over there. There's a Gillian Hashas there. There's a Rashba comes up. Right, first siman of Shulchan Aruch Mishna Berura. We quoted over there. Mishna Berura, right, siman Dalet. It's brought down. There's an idea.
We're not holding that here.
I mean, b'diavad, we would, we would, yeah. If you brought it inside outside, you wouldn't be good at all. Over here, at least it'd be good, right? So we are to some degree. The reason for this leniency for the patient who can't get out of his bed, we would allow bringing the menorah to him. He would light it, and then after you could just move it somewhere in that room, like on the window, whatever. There's multiple reasons why it's okay. And footnote 9 he points out could be the entire house is considered like one location, or the entire room that he's in the hospital, combined with the opinion of the Pri Chadush who holds that nowadays that we're lighting a menorah which has 8 distinguished and separate branches, kanim of the menorah. There's no concern that someone's going to say he's using it for his own benefit. Everyone knows that it's a menorah. Even though he says, I only said this for halacha, but nevertheless, the Pri Megadim says b'diavad you could rely on this. Post fact, at the end of the day, it would work. So that's some of the reasons. If it's possible, if you're going to light outside, and if it's possible that your room is next to where your messenger that you appointed is going to be lighting, and he could say the bracha loud enough that you could hear, great, then you should listen and answer Amen. If you can hear, then the messenger shouldn't even say a bracha. Safek bracha sahakal. It's a major discussion in of itself.
Was that the messenger already fulfilled his obligation?
Exactly, correct. I'm going to mention that in the last few minutes. Shalchu was Mishna Yosef in Chelik Yeral Simin Kuf Tazayin says you could only be lenient about this in a pressing situation. Finish this last dose, then I'm going to come back to that briefly. Person prepared the wicks and he forgot and he didn't put any oil at all. Recited the bracha and then afterwards he saw that there was no oil. So if the jug of the oil is in front of him during the bracha, you don't need to make a new bracha. So he's like defining and going a little deeper into the Aruch HaShulchan. You put the oil then before you light, and you don't need to do bracha. However, if the oil was not in front of him, even if it was in his house, he has to return and make a new bracha. It's tweaking the opinion of the Aruch HaShulchan. But certainly, Shasanisim and Shechianu, we're only discussing the bracha b'havik ner shel Chanukah.
That's
if right.
Yeah, but that's it. It doesn't go at all.
If there wasn't any oil at all, yeah.
But so
or a small amount, same thing.
What's a small amount? I'm saying
not enough to last for a half hour.
Oh, okay, well,
yeah.
Less than half hour.
However, some write, and this is the opinion of the Aruch HaShulchan, that in all situations you don't need to go back and make the new bracha. And it's good that you should hear the bracha from someone else that is lighting, and have in mind that that bracha will cover you. if in one there was enough oil and the other ones there weren't, and even if just one wick was good, then you certainly wouldn't say a new bracha.
Wow.
Yeah, because remember, all you need me'ikar hadin is one.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to end today's session with a shiloh that I already mentioned a few days ago, and which ties into about a messenger. Who says this opinion, by the way? Footnote 13. Karen Shlomo Kafachayim. Different opinions over here. I want to end today's session with a very relevant shiloh. It has to do with this messenger. We were just talking about a messenger, and if he made the bracha or not. One of my chavrusas around 2 weeks ago asked a shaila, posed a shaila to me, and it seems like he asked another rabbi after. Maybe he didn't like my answer. And I want to say the details of the shaila, try to summarize it around 4 minutes. Case is that he has a plane that he's going to be going on to Israel this Sunday night, the first night of Hanukkah. And on this plane, it's going to be leaving basically 4 o'clock. It's going to be getting in way after sunrise to Israel time. Question is, where on earth does he light? How does he do it? What does he do? So, in short, the Charles Chuvas Minchas Yitzchak, Rabbi Dayan Yitzchak Weiss, comes along and says, preferably one should never get himself in this situation. He should never take such a flight. Happens to be, if I'm not mistaken, I think my aunt and uncle are on the same exact flight, but they didn't ask me that this shiloh. They have their own rabbi. But same shiloh for them. So what on earth do they do? So I originally told him, after I looked into it briefly, that it seems like you should get an electric menorah, which has an incandescent bulb, as we learned about in the past, and you would even be able to say a bracha. Try to do battery operated. Now it seems like, well, I'll get to the rest of it. Anyways, told him that. He thought about it, came back to me the next session, and he said he spoke to someone else. Maybe you could light in the airport, like a light if it's after Plaga Mincha. There's a Chabad there, or something like that. Or I could appoint a messenger. My in-laws, they'll come to my house. The problem is he's bringing his whole family. So I thought about it. I said, okay. I looked into it even more thoroughly. I said 100% you should not light in the airport. It's not your house. It's nothing. There's no point of that. That for sure, that option's out. And then I went back to him and said, the problem with pointing a messenger, aka your in-laws, to light in your house. Now they only live a mile away. I know where they live, in Queens. I've been to both houses, and the problem is they already are going to be saying the bracha on their menorah at their house, and now they're not saying a bracha on your menorah. And like, what's the point of it? Kind of. Who's the pursumer Nisa for? They already did it themselves. Now they're going to your house. We're lighting inside anyways. So you're going to put it on the window half hour, then you're going to blow it out. What's better is what I originally said. Light it on the plane. You'll be able to say the brachos. You'll be able to do it yourself and finish. It's very funny when it's brought down lighting on the plane. They say, "Oh, if you could quickly light an actual fire, and maybe they won't see anything." Do it
Oh,
nowadays.
gosh.
Don't try to do that.
Yeah.
They said nowadays you're gonna get kicked off. You're gonna go to jail. You're gonna for sure now. But so he asked me like a week ago. I just can't find the thing on Amazon. Just can't find. Could you just find the menorah for me? So what's the big deal? An electric incandescent menorah. What's the big deal? Last night I type it in. Every single electric menorah is all LEDs. Everyone's going LED. Everyone's going fluorescent. You can't say brach on that. So I said to my wife, I said, "You're good with this. I never ordered a thing in my life on Amazon. My wife does all of the anything that's above 3 digits. I'm involved. Anything below, that's why my wife's involved. She does all of this stuff." I said, "Could you please find me a situation? How can we get a menorah that's incandescent? It must be other people are in this situation." So the kitzer, she looks, and originally I said maybe we should just get a electric menorah with the LEDs come with, switch it out, put the incandescent bulbs in. Whatever, it's a pain to do that. And they're like $40 each, $50 each. Don't worry about the money though, that's not a shiloh. So my wife said, you know what, just get a flashlight. Get a flashlight. They sell incandescents. They're like $8. You get Amazon Prime, they get the next day, finished.
They do still sell having incandescent.
Yeah, apparently. So you get one flashlight, battery operated. light it, bring it on the plane,
Yotze mitzvah.
and you fulfill your obligation. That's it. You like the thing, and that's how you fulfill the mitzvah.
What do they have in the phones? LEDs, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. These phones, they don't have incandescents. No way. You can look at it. There's no coils. I'm saying, there's no
So
coils.
she found a flashlight. They
Look through
still
the
sell
battery.
incandescent.
Yes.
Why? What do they still do then?
I don't know. You could call up the flashlight, the business department. I
So
don't
the
know.
Yotze was just one light.
One light. That's all you did. It
That's-
happens to be it's the first night. So now the child is, do you need a shamash? You don't need a shamash. I said try to light in the beginning of the flight before they turn all the lights off. Still already after 3 stars come out, turn the reading light on so you won't bother people. That will be like, so you won't benefit from the flashlight, so to say, and finish. That I think is the
So could they, if it was the first night of this, could they buy 2 flashlights and one's the shamash and one
You could technically.
like five,
You
small
could
flashlights?
technically
Yeah,
you want to do
okay.
it. I think that's
The way to go.
I think that's better than appointing a messenger. But the messenger is certainly what you're lying. I don't think lying in the airport for sure is a very relevant shaila. A person should not try to get themselves in this situation.
Try not to, even though you want to be in Israel for Hanukkah,
Right.
get there
Just-
before and
right. Exactly. So just whatever. Yeah. Anyways. Okay.
You
So
could do it on the way back. It's the way there.
yes, correct.
On the way back, you don't have to miss a minyan.
Yeah.
And
That's
but
true.
also too,
Fly
what?
nonstop.
No, on the way back, if you take that night flight, you go in, you
Yeah.
leave Israel at midnight, and you get in like 5 a.m.
All
Yeah.
right.
Point to get on the-
Wait, what about it? And then they also issue a Sefer
Oh, yeah.
Torah. He's Hallel tomorrow.
Hello.
Hallel.
What?
Tomorrow?
I mean, he's no. Hallel. He's gonna be landing Hallel on the plane.
Saying hello on the plane? Yeah. Okay. So.
All right, but I'm saying then a Sefer Torah. They need a Sefer Torah.
Obviously, what's the problem?
But by himself. What's the issue?
Okay, the same way. No, it's I mean,
Yeah.
and is there any shita that says, and this is not